What's the good word, y'all? DKB here. So let's talk conspiracies. We have somewhat of an interesting one with somewhat of an interesting player that we recently have brought in. Running back James Robinson, he had some comments today for the media. He's upset, or maybe pissed would be the better word, in terms of him being a healthy scratch in this recent victory over the Bears. And the conspiracy in this situation is that when we traded for him, it was on a conditional 6 round pick. The condition being it would improve to a fifth rounder to the Jaguars if he's able to hit 600 yards. And it seemed like a no brainer at the time for both sides. James Robinson will help replace the production at Brees Hall. Absence is going to leave. And then for the Jaguars, you get a fifth round pick for a guy that you were probably going to continue to make a healthy scratch, anyways. But now it seems, at least the conspiracy thought out there is that maybe we are trying to keep this as a 6 round pick. And I haven't found anything that specifically says if playoff production counts as part of that regular season total, or how that necessarily works out. So I would assume once we hit playoffs, it doesn't matter anymore. But keep in mind, he also came to us with, I think, like 340, 360 something yards. So it seemed like he was easily going to eclipse that total. We play him immediately. He's going to see significant snaps with Michael Carter. And based on what we've seen with him in the Jaguars as a former 1,000 yard rusher, it just seemed obvious. Maybe not the case anymore. So currently we're talking him sitting at 415 yards. He has 6 games left to potentially try to play and hit that 185 yard mark total. Not necessarily crazy, especially if a couple big plays come here and there, potentially. So here's the current layout of what's going on with this situation, right? So we have James Robinson saying, he's obviously upset about not being able to see the field. He feels like he can accomplish what the coaching staff is asking of the running back room, which is a north to south running style. One cut, hit the hole, let's get after it. And then you have the coaching staff, Raul Sala, Mike LaFleur, James Benton, whoever it may be, that's pretty much advising maybe that's not the case. And we're seeing a little bit more of dancing in the backfield, which is leading to us not necessarily having the best run production. We also have this most recent Bear game, Zonovan Bam Knight, his debut. He enters the record books, one of the best running back debuts since we had Snell way back in the day. 103 scrimmage yards. He looks good. He hits the hole. He doesn't look like he's trying to necessarily score a touchdown on every single play, which is where you can get some of that dancing in. Decisive runs, hard runs, broke some tackles, a little elusive, and then he also has the special teams ability. He looked pretty solid coming out. Ty Johnson, we had in a recent press conference from Robert Saleh, who mentions that is his special teams ace. He will be guaranteed a role, essentially. They also like his third down usage. And then you have Michael Carter, who's essentially the main back, replacing Brees Hall now and kind of going back to his previous form prior to Brees Hall's arrival. He also brings a receiving threat to the field as well as a multi-dimensional running back. So really, that leaves James Robinson having to impress and earn a role with this coaching staff, which ideally, with his build, would be the power back, short yardage situations. He has enough wiggle to still be able to break off plenty of big plays, as we've seen during highlights, the Jaguar seasons, etc. But I don't know where he falls on this spectrum. I think he's honestly the odd man sitting out right now. Ty Johnson has a role. Michael Carter, when healthy, has a role. Bam Knight, if they like what they've seen in this Bears game and it consistently translates to practice, he has the young, fresh legs right now. Maybe James Robinson rushed himself back a little too soon. We already had, some of those early hiccups where we wanted to play him. He ended up kind of being a healthy, unhealthy scratch. And then he, lets us know, he came back in 6, 7 months from an ACL. There's going to be some swelling. There's going to be some hiccups and what is still essentially a recovery time for him that flashes. And then you actually have this one where there's no instance of anything going on. The coaching staff and Robert Saleh just wanted to switch things up. He's also already mentioned as well that the running back room is going to be week to week. So This lets me know, in my opinion, at this point, that this really is a meritocracy room at this point in time. Michael Carter hasn't done anything to lose his role per se. We know Ty Johnson's effectively guaranteed one. And so it really comes down to if we only keep three on the roster on game days, Bam Knight versus James Robinson. And if you want to go off recency bias, Bam Knight has already essentially done more than what James Robinson is able to do or bring to the table right now because Bam Knight also plays special teams. So we should see. To me, it's not much of a conspiracy. I don't think Robert Saleh would do anything to withhold a player's production just for simple draft pick status or Joe Douglas. And we've seen this at, I would argue, essentially every point, whether via production or injury, at every position other than safety. Quarterback, excuse me. Quarterback, we have Mike White. We just had to switch up recently in the running back room. In the wide receiver room, we had the Denzel Mims and Elijah Moore drama. Tight ends, Tyler Conklin's been starting over CJ this whole time. The offensive line room, that's been more so injury, but still in the defensive line room. We've had the rotations, getting rid of Jacob Martin, increasing snaps where they need to be, improving Tanzel Mart or bringing him over from practice squad to the actual active roster instead of going outside. The linebacker room, Quan kind of seeing more starter level snaps than Quincy at certain points, things evening out once Quincy got back on track. The running back room, you have Sauce Gardner having to secure his starting role as a boundary cornerback. Safety is really the only position where you say, okay, maybe they relied on previous evaluations and didn't want to give the nod to guys like an Ashton Davis or a Will Parks right away. When we've seen Lamarcus Joyner looking absolutely awful in games and James Whitehead not necessarily contributing a whole lot better. So that's where I stand on it. Let me know what you guys think, though. Is somebody in the front office or the coaching staff intentionally trying to hold James Robinson back so that we can keep our draft pick owed to the Jaguars as a 6th-round pick? Or do we feel like maybe he's just not up to speed, isn't capable of handling what the coaching staff would like at the level they would like to see it right now? Or is there something else that maybe I'm not considering here? Appreciate you guys as always, though, and I'll catch you again. Peace.